All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video we're going to talk about Floyd Mayweather Jr. responding to rumors that he is considering coming back against Terence Crawford, ERROL Spence, or Canelo Alvarez. Let's talk about that in this video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We back doing this boxing talk. In this video, we're going to talk about Floyd Mayweather Jr. and what he had to say about the rumors that were circulating last week about him coming back against a top-level opponent, whether it be ERROL Spence Jr., Terence Crawford, or Canelo Alvarez. And in short, in my opinion, Floyd Mayweather Jr. showed why he is one of the smartest guys to ever get into a boxing ring. But before we get into the subject matter of that, please make sure if you're not already subscribed to the channel that you subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also make sure you hit that bell icon and select all notifications so that you get each one of the notifications. Otherwise, you might get them occasionally. All right, so let's get into it. Floyd Mayweather says, look, man, I have made a lot of money and made really smart business decisions and do not have to, nor will I be getting back into a boxing ring, a professional boxing ring. Now, this is coming on the tails of a guy that was training with Floyd Mayweather Jr., a guy that was training Floyd Mayweather Jr. for an up-and-coming exhibition match, saying that he is very confident that Floyd Mayweather Jr. would get back in the ring against a legitimate top fighter in boxing. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is dashing that and saying, no, I am not fighting anymore. I've made a lot of really good business decisions in my career, and I do not have to do that, right? However, this is what I will also think. This is what I also think about it. It also shows that Floyd Mayweather Jr. knows his limitations at this point in time in his career, being 44 years old or going on 45 years old, knowing that, look, what is happening in a sparring match is not necessarily what's going to happen in a real full-time live fight. When he talked to Ellie Sethback and he said what he wasn't going to do, he also said, look, that these other really tremendous fighters out there, Gervonta Davis, Terence Crawford, ERROL Spence Jr., and he said, like, specifically doesn't understand why a guy like Gervonta Davis is not listed in the top 10 pound for pound. So that is just telling you, dude, that he knows that there's a lot of other really terrific fighters out there, and he's not going to take the chance of not necessarily his 50-0, right? Because I don't really know what that means to him. He has taken a lot of chances throughout he's fought a lot of really good competition in his career, and he wasn't afraid to lose to them then, right? Oscar De La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao, what have you. He wasn't scared of losing, before that. He fought Shane Mosley, fought Miguel Cotto. So I don't think Floyd Mayweather is the type of guy that's afraid to get out there and lose his 50-0. However, I do believe that he is the type of guy that doesn't want to make the mistakes that he's seen a lot of other people make in their career, which is getting cocky, coming back when you feel good in sparring, and trying to give it another go against a young and up-and-coming fighter. And there's a lot of different examples of that, or worse yet than a young up-and-coming fighter, a fully mature, developed world champion that is the best in their division, right? If you look at a guy like, Muhammad Ali came out for money. I think he's offered like $8 million to fight Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes, at the time Ali fought him, wasn't just some up-and-coming fighter. That was probably the case with Leon Spinks. So he took that chance and he was able to get past Leon Spinks when he probably shouldn't have been in the ring. But when you got in there with a guy like Larry Holmes, who was all the way in his prime, no matter how much better Ali might have been in his prime than Larry Holmes was when he faced Larry Holmes, he was just too far gone, and Larry Holmes was right in the sweet spot of his prime. And that makes for a very, very, very bad combination for the legendary fighter coming out of retirement. And that would probably be the case, or a good chance that it could be the case, against ERROL Spence Jr. or against Terence Crawford. It could be the case against Canelo Alvarez as well. Now, there's going to be people who are true believers in Floyd Mayweather Jr., and that's cool. However, let me tell you from firsthand experience, watching fighters over the long time that I've been watching boxing come out of retirement, a lot of time you almost always feel like that when you're a big fan of a fighter. If most fans that are really fans of a fighter can't ever see how a fighter is going to lose. They always are going to believe in that fighter and believe that that fighter can come back out and do something for real. Like Manny Pacquiao, right? Very few people give Manny Pacquiao any chance of, gave Yordenis Ugas any chance against Manny Pacquiao in their fight. And just through the same experience I'm sharing with you, and I said it about the Keith Thurman fight as well. Like, I'm not, when somebody gets to be that age, 42 years old, 43 years old, I am not betting on them beating a young prime, a young fighter, top-notch fighter in their prime. That young top-notch fighter is a lot closer to the best fighter than you think. In professional athletics, there's the difference between an A+ fighter and a B fighter is like an inch. There's not a lot of give in that stuff. If a guy gets, if a guy loses his speed, he gets too old, it could very well be especially in boxing, be a very, very dangerous situation for him. So Floyd, great. This saying he's not going to get into the ring again, I think is an admission that he knows that is not a particularly smart move for him. Because if he really felt that he could still win and he could compete on that level, like Bernard Hopkins felt he could compete on that level, and Manny Pacquiao felt he could compete on that level, I believe Floyd Mayweather Jr. would come out and he would fight. He would fight those guys. But because Manny Pacquiao, as far as I know, wasn't starving for money. Bernard Hopkins never made anywhere near the money he made, Floyd Mayweather Jr. made. But that is not the money itself is not the only reason why why people continue to support, play a sport and continue to go. Because if that was the case, guys like, Michael Jordan could have retired after he got done with the Bulls and not came back and played with the Washington, was it the Washington Wizards at the time? I always forget whether he was with the Bullets or whether he was with the Wizards. But, at the Washington Wizards. Wouldn't have came out and do it because he would have had no need to come out and do it. The guy never had to play basketball again, probably after, several years before, the Bulls were done winning championships. Those guys are just the type of guys that want to be the best. And you also see in Floyd Mayweather that Floyd Mayweather continues to fight. He can, like just today, in the Clarissa Shields was talking about what Floyd Mayweather Jr. looked like in sparring and how he's fighting these 21-year-old guys and how she believes that he could come out and beat a lot of top-level fighters, right? So he's in sparring, he's doing these exhibitions against different guys, and he's getting paid for those exhibitions, right? But so if he really felt like he could dog walk these dudes, he probably would jump out there for $100 million payday because that's how much money is sitting out there for him. But anyway, I'm just glad to hear him say and put the rest, that he's not going to do that. Smart move. Definitely one of the smartest fighters ever. People talk about his ring IQ and all of that. Ring IQ I can't speak on, but outside the ring IQ, Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a very, very bright guy and has made very smart decisions and smart bets his entire career. And it's good to see that he's doing it after his career. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.